All right. Wow. Thank you so much, Simon, for that very inspiring opening session. Ladies and gentlemen, it's my great honor and privilege to be able to speak to you tonight. And when Simon called me, he told me he wants me to share what I have learned from Dubai. And let me just give you a little brief about myself. Maybe there are some people here who are not familiar with my story. I'm coming from the banking sector, and I normally say I loved being in the banking sector because it really opened me up to really understand how financial markets and how money works. But being in the banking sector was also limiting because I was only limited to what happens in Kenya. And of course, being an employee, you know, you're waking up every day thinking about your job, your targets and stuff like that. But when I left, I didn't leave my job because I was prepared to leave. I left because circumstances forced me to leave. And God, in his amazing ways, just gave me a chance to continue living my life in the financial sector. And those of you who have heard my story, for about 2 years, I tried to do Forex trading, which had its own challenges. But in spite of the challenges, I learned so much that today I credit a lot of the knowledge I have to that journey I walked during the time of trading Forex. In as much as whenever we talk about trading Forex, we put a strong disclaimer and tell people it's not for the faint-hearted and it requires a lot of patience to learn the skill. For me, in as much as I don't have much to show for that period of my time, I acquired knowledge that has sort of led me to where I am today. So now, last year, on 1st of June, we began this journey on this smart contract called Forsage on the BUSD project. I had done the previous project on Ethereum for about 6 months, but I had not recorded much success. But I still had hope. And the reason why I was excited about this project is because I had seen what Akina Simon, Akina Shiro, Akina Florence, Jeremiah, and so many other people had done with the previous project, and I had seen the kind of financial growth and personal development that they were portraying and displaying. And I knew that there was something great for me, but it also called for a lot of perseverance because I was going through a really tough time financially. And normally I tell people, when you've been a high-flying corporate person and now you find yourself in the ditches, sometimes it's even very hard to tell people you don't have money, because then they will start looking at you and wondering, why did you plan yourself properly? So that was kind of my situation. But on 1st of June last year, we began this project, and the last 1 year has been very, very phenomenal for me. It has been very, very exciting. And when we began this, God gave me, because I love the Bible and I seek to know what God has in store for me. There are 2 scriptures which I'll quote for you that God gave me at the beginning of this journey that have carried me through, especially in the last 1 year. Now, the 2 scriptures are 2 Kings chapter 3 and actually chapter 4. But the one that really stood out for me was chapter 3. And in a summary, this is a story about the 3 kings who are going to fight the Moabites, and they find themselves in the desert with their army men and their animals and stuff like that. And they had taken a 7-day journey in the desert. And in that desert, on the 7th day, they wake up and there was no water. And you can imagine you're going to war. You have your army men and your horses and your camels that are carrying your supplies and stuff like that. And everybody is complaining that there's no water, and they consulted the prophet Elisha, and Elisha gave them a very interesting answer. He told them that to go and dig the ditches in the desert and fill the desert with ditches. And then he said, you're not going to see any wind and you're not going to see any rain. But as long as sure as the Lord lives, the following day, the desert was going to be filled with water. And interestingly, those 3 kings went and followed the instructions, and the Bible says they filled the desert with ditches. And the following day, at the hour of prayer, water came and it filled the ditches they had. Now that story is followed by the story of on 2 Kings chapter 4 about the lady whose husband had died and they had a lot of debts. And so the creditors were coming to, remember the history of Israelites is that if you owed somebody a debt, they had the right to enslave you or enslave your children until you pay the debt. So the creditors were threatening this lady to come for her 2 sons. And she was so desperate. And she went and sought Prophet Elisha. And Elisha told her, go and borrow jars and borrow as many jars. And you all know that story. She only had some little oil. So when she came, so guys, kindly mute yourself as you come in. So when she came with the jars, the Bible says she went and told Elisha she had gotten the jars, and Elisha told her, go and fill the jars with the oil. So she started pouring the oil, and the oil kept going until she finished the last jar. Now, those two stories are very closely related in the lessons they carry, because first of all, they are stories about obedience. These are mighty kings who could have told Elisha, surely, how do you tell us to go and dig ditches in the desert? Who are we going to tell to dig these ditches? The same people who are complaining, but they obeyed. And the water filled the ditches they had dug. So I normally tell myself, suppose they had dug one ditch, they would have just gotten water in one ditch. If they had dug 1,000 ditches, then they got water equivalent to 1,000 ditches, which is exactly the same story with in the 2 Kings. I mean, with the woman who was told to borrow jars. I don't know exactly how many jars she borrowed, but the lesson is the oil filled the jars she had. And so God, as I began this journey, God kept reminding me, Nyambura, go out there and dig your ditches. And imagine you're digging ditches in a desert where you can't see, there is no even sign of rain, there is no sign of wind, there is no sign of anything. But God just said, go and dig your ditches. So I don't know about you guys, but I know I have dug ditches in 30 counties. And I know the Bible says, at the right time, God will fill the ditches. He does not need to consult me. All he needs is to see, am I obedient enough to do what he has asked me to do? And that's the story of these two people. Now, the other scripture that also has been very phenomenal for me is 1 Corinthians chapter 9. And by the way, with all due respect to everybody on this call, this is not a religious conversation. I am just talking about things that have built me. So 1 Corinthians chapter 9, and this was the story of Paul enumerating his rights when he was arrested. And he was wondering, why are people accusing him of all manner of things? And verse 7 particularly, Paul asks, in 1 Corinthians 9 verse 7, he asks, who serves as a soldier at his own expense? Who plants a vineyard and does not expect to eat of its grapes? Who tends a flock and does not drink its milk? Some of you who are here, you are farmers, you keep some animals. If you have ever seen a farmer who has kept cows, there is no farmer who is in their sober mind who can milk all the milk and take it to the dairy and drink black tea. That is lack of wisdom. What normally happens is the farmer milks the cows and partakes of that milk, and the balance is what they sell. So as I began this journey, I knew there is no man that goes to war at his own expense. In fact, I learned that lesson from HUAWEI Y7. And the way Wale put it, it was so fundamental for me because he was asking, have you ever heard of an army person recruited into the army fundraising to buy a gun or fundraising to buy a jet if they're in Moi Air Base, for example, or Nanyuki Air Base? Or fundraising to buy these KDF vehicles? The person who recruits that person, the army person, the recruit, the person who recruits them, let's say, for example, in Kenya, it's the government of Kenya that recruits these people. It is the responsibility of the government of Kenya to supply them with everything they need. If they need guns to go to war, it's the government that provides the guns, which are fully equipped, loaded with everything they need. It's the government that buys the airplanes that they will fly to go into war. And so for me, the message was, Nyambura, God is sending you into the battlefield. Don't worry about the supplies. No man goes to war at his own expense. God assured me, He was going to be my supplier, my provider. Everything that I needed for the journey was already provided. And all I needed to do is go and dig my ditches. And in his own time, at his own time, at his own leisure, he was going to fill my ditches with, depending on how many ditches I am willing to dig. And even today, ladies and gentlemen, a year later, I can tell you, I am still in the process of digging ditches because I don't know how deep my ditches are not deep enough. I need to make them deep enough so that when God comes and fills them for me, I want to never lack again. I want to be in a position where I don't have to wake up worried about money, worried about resources, worried about how to put bread on the table. But it calls for my obedience to do that which is very difficult in light of circumstances. Nobody wants to dig ditches in a desert. But now, to put that story of the desert in focus, let me tell you what I have seen in Dubai. And I know a lot of us here have been to Dubai. It's amazing. And most of the times when we go to Dubai, God has privileged me to have experienced Dubai not once, not twice. But this particular visit was very special. And one of the key things that as I was planning for this trip, I kept on telling God, please help me take out something out of Dubai that will be life transforming. Because most of the time, what we do when you're going to Dubai or you're going to a foreign country, you line your pockets with money. And when you get there, you want to buy as many gifts, as many giveaways, as many things that you can remember. You want to make yourself happy. And it's normal, it's natural. That's what we want to do. But I have one very important purchase that I did in Dubai, and I want to show you what I bought. And this is what I bought. I don't know whether you can see this. Simon, tell me if you can see this. Can you see this, guys?
Yes, we can. Yes.
Oh, great.
My vision,
so when I went to Dubai this time, I wanted to take a piece of Dubai with me. And this is a book called My Vision, authored by Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum, who is the ruler of Dubai and the Prime Minister of United Arab Emirates. And let me tell you, ladies and gentlemen, Dubai is a desert. So my desert story God kind of manifested it in reality. There are times when God opens your eyes, like you've been to some place, but some truths have never come out. But this time round, Dubai was like such a manifestation of what God told me in the beginning, because Dubai is a desert. For those of you who have been privileged to go to Dubai, and by the way, if you're here on this call and you've never been to Dubai or to Israel, like I have never been to Israel, I'm itching to go. If you've never been to Dubai, stop saying there is no money. Just get 100,000 Kenya shillings and take a flight and go to Dubai. Because there's something that happens when people go to Dubai. Your mindset completely shifts and transforms if you're willing to be transformed. So I have been reading this book. I can't seem to want to put it down. And I want to just share two things that have stood out for me so strongly about Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum. And one of the key things he talks about is how Dubai has gotten to where it is from the ravages of a desert, like a real desert, like a really, really hot desert. And in his introductory chapters, he talks about having a pioneering spirit. And I could personally so strongly resonate with that, because right here in Kenya, what we are doing today, we are pioneers in this space. It's a very gray area for a lot of people, and a lot of people can't seem to wrap this whole concept of blockchain and smart contracts. They can't seem to wrap it around their heads. But in everything that you can see today, everything that you can think about today that human beings have achieved, there is somebody who was the pioneer. And the challenges of a pioneer are so immense because you have nobody to benchmark with. And I'm using that word in quotes because, and I will tell you why I am using it carefully in quotes. So in his pioneering spirit, he highlights some things that Dubai has done, and they have done them against very, very serious odds. And let me give you one of the, I'll highlight a few of them. Some of them we were able to witness. We went there, we saw, we tried to wrap our heads around it. And some of them are still out there. We will still need to go and see for ourselves so that we can, you know, the message can sink. One of the things that they pioneered, his father, Mohammed bin Rashid, is a son of the former ruler, Sheikh Rashid bin Said Al Maktoum. So the father was the first ruler of Dubai. So now he's the second. His father decided to build a port called Port Rashid or Mina Rashid. You can Google it, it's called Port Rashid or Mina Rashid. And this port was opened officially in 1972. And this port today is the world-leading cruise port. Like, it's the biggest port that hosts the highest number of cruise ships globally. Now, on average, this port receives 14,000 passengers every single day. But this record was broken in 2020. There is a particular day, I wasn't able to get the actual date, and this information, I was getting it from Forbes for your information. And there's a day when they received 6 cruise ships with 35,000 passengers in one day. I don't know whether you can try to imagine what kind of a facility is required to process 35,000 tourists and make them very comfortable. We came here the other day and we landed at JKIA, and I was feeling so frustrated because, you know, guys, those of you who've been to Dubai, you know the kind of traffic that their airport processes, and you don't feel it. The queues are there, but they move, everything works. Then you come here, you are just one aircraft, 300 people, and it took about 1.5 hours to process those people. And I was wondering to myself, my God, when will we ever move? When will we drop this mentality of that world? Because our systems are just on another level. Anyway, now this port, Port Rashid, is actually a man-made cruise terminal. And sorry, I'm reading some. Oh my God. And the most interesting thing, and I want you to listen to this one. When Sheikh Rashid began construction of this port, the economy of UAE was in recession. And that's a very important point to take note of, because sometimes you hear people saying there is no money, there is so money, so they give up on their dreams. But let me tell you, here is a leader who did not pay attention to the norm. He did not listen to what people are saying. In fact, the way Al Maktoum brings out that story, he says that some merchants approached him to go and speak to his father on their behalf to tell him that that project was going to fail. There is no way it was going to succeed because the economy was in recession and they had another port. So what was the point of creating this mega port that required hundreds and thousands of dollars? And this is what, so when this guy, the current ruler, went to his father, he told the father, he gave the father that message. He found him at the construction site. He gave him that message, and the father never responded to him. He looked at him, didn't say anything. So this guy knew better to not press the issue. On their way home, when they were going home, when he was driving his father told him these words, and I quote, he said, "The reason I am building this port now is because there will come a time when you will not be able to afford to do so." That is found on page 30 of this book. Now, his father could see the future. He could visualize the impact this port was going to have on the economy of Dubai. But the current circumstances at that time, the economic circumstances were not in favor of that project. And people were coming and telling, the whole world was wondering, what is wrong with this guy? How do you take up a project like that? First of all, who knows UAE? Who knew UAE in 1972? I mean, remember it was officially opened in 1972. He started construction, I think, in 1965. Who knew UAE? It was a non-entity. But he refused to listen to the voice of those negative people. He stuck to his vision. Most of the people who are around him could not see what he was seeing. And he went ahead with the project. And he told his son, if I don't do this now, there will come a time when you will not afford to do it. And when I read that, it had a very profound impact on me. Because currently, if you pay attention to what is going on in our economy, I'm telling you, you will not do a thing. If you pay attention to what the people are saying about blockchain, because of maybe coming from a point of lack of knowledge and understanding, you will not do a thing. But will you be able to stick? That's the question I've been asking myself. Nyambura, will you be able to stick to your vision? You can see where the world is going. You can understand the things that are taking shape right now. Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you, there will come a time when people will be saying, teach me how to buy these cryptocurrencies, because they will be required to use them to do business, and they will not afford to do. They will not afford to buy them. And I've been telling myself, Nyambura, this is the time. This is exactly the moment for you to do what you have purpose to do, or for you to do what God has shown you that you must do. It doesn't matter the status of the economy. It doesn't matter who says no. It doesn't matter who is with you. You are the person that matters. So this is very personal to me. Now, so he continues to say, now the author of this book continues to explain that whenever you see something successful that has happened in the world, today everybody goes to Dubai. If not built this port, where would all those cruise ships be docking? You and I today, we want to take a cruise ship and we want to dock in Dubai. My friend, if that guy had listened to the world, how would we even be able to go and see that marvel of what Dubai is today? So he says something that success has deep roots. And I like the way he comes out. He was groomed, he's a pedigree, he comes from that family lineage of leaders and rulers, and he has no apology to make about it. And he says that success has roots. And he says this, just like mature trees, capabilities and feelings have deep roots. What this guy has been able to achieve since he became the ruler, which I will show you just a few of those things, is because of what was inculcated in him by his father. He saw his father rise up against all odds to make Dubai a world-class state, or UAE for that matter. So he's borrowing from the roots of his father. Some of us, we may not have fathers to borrow from. Maybe our parents or the people who influenced our decisions began businesses that today are nowhere. They are dead. There is nobody who talks about them. We can't even relate to that. It doesn't matter. It is up to me to be that person who will set the pace for my future generations. I want my children to say, my mother achieved this. And they can look at the circumstances under which I was able to achieve what I achieved and say, if my mother in her time could do what she did, then they will be able in their time. Al Maktoum today is such a success because his roots go deep. His father was such a role model. And so he took on from where his father left, and he has made Dubai what it is. So that is one of the key things that all of us, by the way, I say the next time we go to Dubai, we will be very deliberate about where we visit. Some of these places we have to go so that we can conceptualize what this is all about. We don't just read it on Wikipedia or wherever, but we go right there and see it and touch it if we need to. By the way, this port is home to Queen Elizabeth II cruise ship, which finished its journey in 2015, and by 2018 it had been bought by its new current owner. And this is, I think we saw that, by the way, we saw Queen Elizabeth II, which is a refurbished ocean liner, which today sits there permanently as a floating hotel. You can imagine we are going to see it there today, because somebody who had believed in their dream stuck to their guts and they realized the vision. Now, the other one that I want to talk about is the Museum of the Future. And we are very privileged to have gone to the Museum of the Future. A lot of Kenyans who are in Dubai have been saying, oh my God, I've never entered the Museum of the Future. And let me tell you, ladies and gentlemen, when we entered, those guys, we entered, what were they calling it? Who can remember what they were calling it? It was like, because it was like a scene from a movie. And you enter into like a spaceship, a spaceship, and they take you to the year 2071, and they start showing you how Dubai will look like in 2071. And you literally feel like you're flying and you're in space and you're seeing Earth from up there. It's an incredible experience. Let me tell you, ladies and gentlemen, when we entered that Museum of the Future and the voice started speaking from wherever from, I thought I was going to space. I mean, I have watched a lot of these NASA things as they take off to space, and you hear the way the voice comes, and that was exactly the experience. I mean, I couldn't believe that we were lifted to the 7th level of that building, and I never felt like we actually moved. I was just seeing screens rotating the earth, showing us, I don't know what. Eventually, we found ourselves on the 7th level of that building. From outside, you cannot even imagine that is a building. But some of the things that now, other than you being able to now see how Dubai will look like in 2071, we saw the cars of the future. People are being told artificial intelligence is here. Vehicles, driverless vehicles will be on the road sooner than you think. They are already on display in the Museum of the Future. Now, those guys have preserved, that for me, I think was like the mind-boggling thing. They have preserved over 4,000 species of animals and trees. Now that everybody is so busy destroying the world without caring the impact of our human activity on nature, these guys are already preserving the genes, the species, those animals and sea animals, land animal, birds, plants, they are already preserving them, and they have put them on display for you to see. These people are thinking there is not going to be a story of dinosaurs that disappear that future generations cannot relate to them. They are already preserving the current vegetation and animals so that should we continue to destroy them, they can recreate them in the future, and the future generations can be able to experience what you're experiencing. When you start to think like that, you ask yourself, who thinks like that? Who thinks like that? What are we thinking about? Most of us are thinking about how to put bread on the table. Yeah, there goes the Museum of the Future. I'm telling you guys, you need to go to the Museum of the Future. You will be blown away at the level of thinking that is going on in the heads of these people. I mean, who decides, who wakes up and says, okay, let me preserve these animals so that they don't become extinct? Who thinks like that? That is what Dubaians are doing. And I can tell you they are preserving the future on our behalf. Now, let me tell you the other one, which of course we all know about, is the Burj Khalifa. Oh, there. Good, excellent. Ebu, play that clip. Okay, go back to those things that were there. This is a demonstration. Each of that, something that looks like a glass tube, has either a species of an animal, a sea animal, a land animal, or a plant, and they are on display for you to see what they are doing in their labs. So this is, it's a marvel for you guys. You must see this, because it helps you to completely start changing how you think. So I remember I spent like a whole hour here marveling and wondering who thinks like this. Anyway, and of course, they are studying nature to understand how they can preserve trees. These are the kind of things they have labs across Dubai where they're studying all this and doing all this preservation. Now, let me move to the next one so that we are on time. The Burj Khalifa, and we all know the Burj Khalifa, but did you know that the Burj Khalifa is the first vertical city? It is actually a city in itself, and it's a vertical city. We all know that cities they are horizontal, right? But Khalifa is actually referred to as a vertical city, the first world vertical city. This building has 163 floors. Let me tell you, ladies and gentlemen, you are given a chance to go to the 124th floor, where you can now see the view of Dubai. It's an incredible sight. But let me tell you, the lift took exactly 1.5 minutes to move from ground floor to level 124. Can you imagine that? You go to town today and enter a lift and time it. You're going to the 10th floor of a building. Just time and see how long it takes you. That one, you enter like this, you close, 1 minute, it has done 100 floors. 30 minutes, in the next 30 minutes, you have landed on 124th floor. And I'm like, my goodness, these things can happen. Anyway, so what stood out for me about Burj Khalifa, it's not the first time I've seen it, but let me tell you, I managed to get some statistics that were displayed in some of those walkways or in the corridors. And there's a place where they had written that it took 6 years, ladies and gentlemen, 6 years, and a total of 22 million man-hours to complete that building. And the question I asked myself, how much time am I willing to give to my vision for people to come and look back and say, wow, what she has achieved? How much time am I willing to commit? How many people have you put in a business like this? And in a week's time, they have quit. What was their vision? What was their goal? What was their objective? I'm telling you, ladies and gentlemen, it took 6 years, 22 million man-hours. Today, the world takes all its money to see that building because it's a vertical city, it's a marvel of the world. Nobody else has been able to achieve that. So for me, I think the vision is very clear. If you're serious about making an impact in this space, ask yourself the question, how much time are you willing to commit? What will it cost you? Do you have an idea what it costed them to pay 22 million man-hours? How much money do you think it cost them? But guess what? The whole world today flocks there because they were willing to stick out to a dream that nobody else would have thought about. Now, we came across a plaque of Sheikh Mohammed and some very powerful words he had written, I think when he was opening the Burj Khalifa. And this is what the word he had said. The word impossible is not in the leader's dictionary. No matter how big the challenges, strong faith, determination, and resolve will overcome them. So for me, I have told myself, it doesn't matter what the challenges are. As long as I'm true to my vision, as long as I have strong faith, determination, and resolve, I will overcome. If those people could put up a 163 tall building like that, what can we not achieve? Now, let me talk about the other one, which is the world's first 7-star hotel, the Burj Al Arab. Of course, you guys have seen the Burj Al Arab everywhere. This hotel is built inside an ocean. I mean, that whole thing of reclaiming the ocean is something that I still ask myself, where do you put the pillars? I don't know how far the earth is from inside the ocean. How do you put pillars that make a building like that one stand right in front? Yeah, that is the Burj Khalifa. If you have not been there, we had the privilege of going to this top up there, 124th floor. Maybe you can put Burj Al Arab for people who may want to see it. Now, that's the hotel that stands inside the ocean. And you ask yourself, who even thought about that? Who thought that that is something that could actually be done? But it has been done. Then they have the Palm Jumeirah. Palm Jumeirah is the first man-made artificial island. And it is built in the shape of a palm tree. So they have reclaimed the ocean, and every branch, every 2 branches on the right and the left of the Palm Jumeirah, they have constructed amazing homes. Yeah, that is the Burj Al Arab. By the way, it has a helipad up there. That I'm coming to that. So the Palm, what was I talking about? Palm Jumeirah, the island itself. They've constructed on those branches, they've constructed homes where if you buy a home there, every morning when you wake up, you have a seafront. The neighbor opposite across the road has a beachfront on their end. And let me tell you, all the rich people in the world, all these people you see in these glamorous places, they have gone there and bought those properties. How much do you think their real estate is contributing to the economy of Dubai today? Being able to buy an apartment at Burj Khalifa, being able to own some of those units at Burj Al Arab, being able to buy the Palm Jumeirah, people from the world are flocking in there and taking all their money to that country because somebody was willing to dream. Yes, now that is how Palm Jumeirah looks like. This is a man-made island. You can see it is actually built inside the ocean. It has an outer ring, and then all the palms, the branches I was talking about are those ones. Those are places with residential homes. And it is a 6-kilometer stretch. What you can see in the middle is a 6-kilometer stretch from the mainland to the tip. And then on the outer ring, that is where you find the Palm Atlantis, one of the most luxurious hotels in the world. So let's go back. Now, having seen some of these things, these are just some of the few things that you see there and you go home thinking, okay, I really need to think differently because there's something I have learned. And I learned this one from Al Nightingale. And Al Nightingale says, look around you and see the abundance that God has provided for his people. I, Nyambura Minor, I have every right to that abundance, just like everybody else. So the question is, why are people living in such abundant wealth and opulence, and I am struggling? Is the problem God's provision, or is the problem me and my mindset? And I can tell you at the end of the day, that is the Palm Atlantis, one of the most luxurious hotels. It is on those outer rings of the Palm Jumeirah, among many other key highlights. So I have, as I went there, I was telling myself, there is nothing special about these people that they can afford to live this kind of life of abundance, life of abundance, where people have so much that I mean, it's crazy. Why am I struggling here as Nyambura? Where is the problem? I like what Simon has said. We are all children of Abraham. God said he will bless the seed of Abraham. So how is it that the child from out of wedlock is more blessed than the son who was born in the marriage? Is the problem the blesser? Is the problem the blessing? Or the problem is the person receiving the blessing? And many times, ladies and gentlemen, we are our own enemies. We don't believe, and also we do not seek knowledge. If you don't know what is possible, then what? What do you have? What do you get? If you don't know what is possible, you settle for what is available. And what is available here for us? We are hustling people, and I'm not being political. We are not supposed to be living life like this. God is a provider for all of us. And there is nothing special about these people. This is a desert that has been transformed into a real oasis. Now, the second thing I wanted to talk about, so I talked about the pioneering spirit. Now, this guy said something that I think for me is the real game changer. And he says, second-hand ideas have no room in Dubai and in UAE. I want you to underline that. Second-hand ideas have no room in Dubai and in UAE. They would rather lead than follow. They are not going to go to New York and see what New Yorkers are doing, and they come and duplicate it. He says, if that is what you do, then what are you for? And that is why I was saying, I was using the word benchmarking carefully, because what we hear all around us is, oh, we go to benchmark in New York, we go to benchmark in Europe, we go to Safaricom to benchmark. When you're going to benchmark, what does that mean? It means you are in this place, you're looking at Nyambura, she's there, she has achieved this kind of success, which you so desperately want. You want to copy what she has done. That is borrowing second-hand ideas. And a lot of us are gifted by God. God in his own way, in his own magnificent way, has gifted each one of us with gifts, talents, capabilities, abilities, and each one of us, we are unique in our own ways. But we are unable to bring to birth our uniqueness, because all we think about is, I want to know what Nyambura is doing to achieve her success. How do you want to achieve my success? How do you know what my capabilities are? How do you know what my challenges are? Can you be able to withstand my challenges? You have your own unique gifts. You have your own unique talents. Why don't you just back them out? Be the leader in your own space. Let the rest of the people come and borrow from you. You cannot be the one. I told myself, if second-hand ideas have no room in Dubai and in UAE, they will not have room in my life. I am going to be a pioneer. I will learn. I will learn. Now, how do they learn? How have they been able to achieve this kind of success, knowing that they don't have anyone to benchmark on? Now, Mohammed goes on to say, he does not pass up an available opportunity waiting for another. So if he comes across a Nyambura who has an idea, and I go and I share the idea with him, he takes that idea, calls his team together, they evaluate that idea from every possible angle. He is not going to say, that idea, we don't want that one, somebody else will come with a better idea. No, he does not do that. He says he does not pass up an existing opportunity waiting for another. How many times, ladies and gentlemen, have you passed up opportunities that God has brought your way because you looked at them and maybe you said, that one is a Nyambura idea, I don't want it. I mean, me, I don't do those things. How many times have you dismissed an opportunity and said, I don't do those things? Because that's a very common statement. And guess what? The minute you dismiss it, the opportunity is gone, because somebody else will run with it, and now you can only copy from them. So what have I been telling myself? The opportunity God has presented me with, the fact that he presented it for me means there's something for me in there. But I don't have to be the one to die with it. I can call my friend Jeremiah, Moses, Sarah, and I tell them there's an opportunity here. Can we look at it from every possible angle? And once we are able to understand it, we hit the ground running. People will be wondering, how did these people achieve this? That's why today we are marveling at what that desert has become. How is it possible that you can transform a desert like that into not just, that's not even an oasis, it's a marvel of the world. So now, history, my friend, shows no mercy for the weakling. If you're not going to be committed to your vision, if you're not going to be committed to your goal, to your dreams, history has no mercy for you. It will get rid of you quickly, and it will bless the person who is willing to pay the price. So what these guys have done and how they have succeeded in being pioneers in most of these things is that once they evaluate an idea, they put in a team from or everybody who has a contribution to make. They don't mother out people. Once they look at that idea, then they execute it with speed. Because if you're not going to execute it with speed, ladies and gentlemen, somebody else will run with your idea, and you'll be looking back and saying, and many times I have told people, you have a golden business opportunity here, and your work is to enlighten people and tell them to come and learn what is going on. And you keep procrastinating and you keep procrastinating. Tomorrow, you call the customer that you were supposed to talk to yesterday, and they tell you, oh, by the way, I already joined the business. How many of us have such stories? Because you are procrastinating instead of taking that idea, evaluating it, and running and executing it with speed. There is just so much for me that I have learned from this particular trip that I am so grateful to God. Now, you need to understand that this race is one of endurance. If you have not developed the stamina to last, you will give up. You will fall by the wayside. I'm so challenged by this guy because he has surmounted so many challenges. In fact, he says, allow me to say this one, and I'm not being political, just in case you didn't know, in UAE and in Dubai, for that matter, they don't have an electoral system. They don't vote. Nobody has ever cast a vote to elect a cabinet minister or a governor, or they don't do that. What they do is you're handpicked for positions, cabinet secretary, parliament, whatever their government structure looks like, there are no elections. And he said something very profound. He said, if you are a leader and you cannot handpick people who can buy into your idea, then it will become very difficult to execute those ideas. And even when you handpick the people, some of those people, they revolt from inside. Don't think that this guy has had it easy. If you read this book, you'll be amazed at some of the challenges he has surmounted. So can you imagine, even in this business, you don't need everyone. You need to handpick whom you need to do business with. Who are the people who can see the big picture? Who are the people who can buy into the vision, who can run with you, who can help you achieve the goal so that collectively you achieve your goals? And remember, there is no shortage of good people in this world. There is no shortage of people who want to learn about blockchain for your information. Many times I hear people saying, I don't know people. And I'm like, that is a limitation of your mind. There is no shortage of people who want to learn about blockchain. They are out here. They are waiting for you to be bold enough to go and approach them and tell them to come and see what you have seen, to come and hear what you have heard, and believe you me, you'll be amazed and surprised. So this race is one of endurance. So if you need to develop the stamina to endure, to be able to, you've got to be willing to face challenges without knowing where to go. You can only go one side, upwards, because there's nothing to benchmark on. There is nobody to benchmark on. If you're benchmarking, then what are you doing? Other people have achieved what you want to achieve. We are in a pioneering moment, in a golden moment. So now, in coming to a close, let me remind you, failure, this is, what I'm saying are quotes from this guy. Failure is not falling to the ground. It is remaining there once you have failed, okay? Failure is not falling to the ground. It is remaining there once you have failed. And the greatest failure is when you decide not to stand up again. And unfortunately, so many people take that path. They fall, and then they decide they're not going to rise up again. And the opportunity goes, and by the time they're waking up, they are only in regret. If you fail, if you have failed, if you're going to fail, it's okay. All great people in the world, they have failed so many times that you cannot even believe. But the difference between them and us is that immediately they fall, they make up their minds to stand up again and learn the lesson from what made them fail at that point. So that lesson now becomes the building block for the next step. So what are we going to do? What I'm asking myself is these two questions. How much am I willing to stake in this pioneering opportunity? And I mean in terms of money. If you're in this business today, ask yourself, how much capital have you put in your business? Is that capital that makes you wake up in the morning with a sole purpose to make this work? Or is it just money that you're willing to throw away and you don't care if it comes back? Because that is one of the greatest challenges. Most people put in money that even if they lose, they don't care. So with it goes the vision. But if you look at some of the mega projects these people have achieved so far, and for your information, what they are saying is they are at the beginning. Don't think they have achieved much. They have said the vision is so big that right now they are in the beginning. So you can now imagine if they're in the beginning, what are they thinking in their heads? So for you who is on this call tonight, How much are you willing to stake? How much of your money are you willing to stake in this opportunity? Is that money that makes you wake up every day asking yourself, how do I make this work? Or are you in that category of people who are like, hiyo hata ikipotea is okay? Because if that's your attitude, then you are not, this is not your race. The second question, how much time are you willing to commit to this opportunity? If you truly want to build a business that you can hand over to your children. Now, you all know, most of us here, our parents may have started a business here or there, but those businesses went down with them. So the children have nothing. They just say, oh, my father used to sell a shop, or my father used to do this or do that. They have not been able to hand over that blessing to their children. But we are in a moment where our business is secured on blockchain. You will literally hand over the 12 words to your children and tell them anything that will ever come out of this opportunity is yours for taking. If you're willing to do that, how much time are you willing to give to this business? When you wake up in the morning and you have many businesses that you're running, how much time do you allocate to this business? How big is your vision? How important is this business to you? Because if it is an entity, then it will continue being an entity. If you're like me, I am like, oh my God, I have put a lot of money. I mean, like I put $30,000 so far, and I am just at the beginning. For me, $30,000, ladies and gentlemen, is almost 4 million. Every day I'm waking up and thinking, how do I get my money back? What do I do? What am I supposed to do? I can't afford to sleep. I cannot afford to double deal this opportunity with another. No, because also in that capital that I put, which is little because I'm still at the beginning, I have also seen how much it has given me back. So I am willing to stake my life. I am willing to stake every day of my life in this opportunity. Now, there's something that Jack Ma said, which I really like, a clip that I think I shared in one of the groups. And Jack Ma says, today is hard. Today is difficult. Tomorrow will even be more difficult. But the day after tomorrow will be easy. Listen to that. Today is difficult. Tomorrow will even be more difficult. But the day after tomorrow will be easy. Now, the sad thing is, most people die tomorrow evening. So they live today, which is very difficult, They live tomorrow, which is very difficult. But when they are at the nick of time, when they are just about to flip things, they die. So are you going to die tomorrow evening, or will you rise up to the third day when things are going to be easier? Now, let me close by saying this, and this is my affirmation, which I want to make to all of you. And I am going to tell you this. I am going to water my desert with faith, and it is going to blossom like a rose. I am committed to water my desert with faith, for I know for sure it will blossom like a rose. Dubai to me is a rose that has blossomed in a real desert. And if it can do that, there is absolutely no reason why my desert will not blossom like a rose. With that, thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen, for listening to me. I hope you have taken a bit of Dubai with yourself, and I hope you will purpose and you'll be deliberate about getting out of this country. Just go and experience something out there, and don't just go with a budget of buying gold and perfumes and stuff like that. Take out purpose. The next time when you go to any country or wherever you go, carry a bit of that can help you for the rest of your life. I would highly recommend that you buy this book. Of course, I do not know Mohammed. I just know him as the ruler of Dubai. But believe you me, this is a guy we need to just pay attention to. His thinking is exactly what we need to succeed. God bless you. Thank you so much, Simon, for giving me this opportunity. I have taken a whole 1 hour, but thank you. It's my great honor.
Yeah, you needed actually you needed 2 days, all a week. There, guys, you've heard it from the horse voice, and I really don't want to add anything to that, because in fact, they say every picture speaks more than 1,000 words, and you've seen some of those photos. But I just want to echo one point. When we tell people what we do, and people purport to either condemn or give us advice on our business. And I want you to imagine if you are running a kiosk, if you are running a shop, if you are running a boutique, if you are a civil servant, if whatever you do, can you imagine somebody from outside coming to give you advice? I think that is food for thought. For those of you who allow people who have zero idea of what we are doing to kill your dreams. And Nyambura has really articulated that so well. I don't think I could be able to do exactly what she has been able to do. She has delivered 101%. Thank you so much, Nyambura, for that. And due to public demand, it seems like December we'll be going to Dubai again, but we'll be looking for confirmations. But I'm telling you, all of you who are on this call, you need to get there. And let's leave it at that. And may God bless you abundantly. Thank you and have a good night. Bye-bye.